live. We should be live. Or should be live in a second. And if people are already here, as always, say hello in the chat. Let me just send out one thing with a link on Luma. How's everyone's Friday so far? And if you're in the US, at least, we were just saying it's a long weekend, so I think a lot of people will have Monday off as well. And as you join in, say hello in the chat where you're watching from. We're a minute early, so we'll wait a few minutes before we get going in the content as normal. Any fun news this week, John, that you've seen?
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure I've heard it, but I haven't memorized it or collected it.
You need a different memory layer?
Yeah, I was at a AI Tinkers event last night, and I'm sure there were some good conversations around things. I just, yeah.
Need to work on chunking the information and saving it in like a vector store.
Yeah.
your own.
It's like my vector store is my phone, right? You know, so I'm not looking at my phone. So
AI Tinker events are always really good, and if people are tuning in, they're all over the place. I think all over the world, not even just the US. So you should look up AI Tinkers and see if there's kind of a chapter near you. They're really, really good. I haven't gone to one in a little bit, but they're always, like, every single one I've been to is really good. And usually a lot of people, at least in Seattle, show up, which Seattle is also their origin. So their founder and stuff is here. But they seem pretty big all over the place.
Yeah, lots of good demos yesterday on really observability on multiple agents running, you know, being able to view what they're doing, and a lot of folks doing their own thing.
Was there any specific tool that came up for that, or was it just their own?
There's a couple. I can throw them in the chat.
Yeah. What were they called, if you remember?
I'll refer to my notes. Let me find them.
I see a lot of people joining in now, so say hello in the chat. Also, if people do want to come on the audio portion of the stream, you can. Currently, if you haven't come on before, you can message me on LinkedIn, which I'll put in the chat. You can also follow me there if you want to see the events I post and stuff every week, but that's going to be the place if you want to come up here. But a lot of people like hanging out in the chat, and that's totally fine. I'll try to like read in your comments and stuff here so they kind of become part of the stream and everyone can participate. But if you do want to come in, message me on LinkedIn and I'll try to keep an eye out for that. If I do miss it, again, feel free to message in the chat that you messaged me to, and I'll go look over there and I'll send you the link to join in live. But again, a lot of people like to hang out in the chat, which is great. Just say hello there. Have any questions or comments? Like, a lot of people participate in the discussion, but they just type it out. And then, like I was saying, I'll kind of read in interesting things as people say them in the chat as well. And this is the AI Build and Learn series, where it's been every Friday for the last 9 Fridays so far. This is the 9th one. But next week, we are actually taking that week off. I have a wedding I'm going to. So there is no event if you're expecting one next Friday. And in fact, it might be in your calendar if you already RSVP'd on Meetup. It probably automatically put it there from your email. So just noting, I posted a comment in there, but that got pushed out a week to June 5th. And today's event, we're talking about Cognee, which I'll share these links probably again. Can check out the GitHub here. It's a open source memory layer to bring in for your agents and chats. It's really cool. It's actually combines a lot of the stuff we've looked at in the previous couple of weeks with GraphRag, with like Neo4j, and then also LM Wiki last week, which kind of extracted all these different ontologies and stuff. And Cognee is almost, from me playing around with this week, it's almost like a library made to do what LM Wiki did. Just with like a nicely written Python API. So it's kind of cool. Except for, I mean, to do the memory part of it, the LM Wiki actually gives you all those broken down markdowns in a nice format. I think this is a little bit different there. But I see people tuning in. People are saying hello. Again, also, if you want to throw in like what you're working on, that's always really fun to see as well. And then Also, if you want to join this, you don't have to, but we have a Slack group. So if you want to participate in any discussions throughout the week, like as you're building on these topics, you can join there. There's also like an introductions channel, AI news channel. So it's fun to kind of share like what you're working on or just interesting stuff you see out throughout the week. You can join there if you want. And then, so the next one is Ragus, evals for RAG and memory. We don't have the next one's booked now. I'm going to go ahead probably this weekend and get some of the next ones up. But I always want to open it up, as always, while people are here. What topics or tools would you want to see next? And if you don't have a specific tool, maybe a kind of topic area that you're interested in, we can find what are the coolest new tools or methods to accomplish that thing that you're interested in. So there's a whole backlog of stuff people have said, like AI agent frameworks. Evals have come up quite a bit. So the next one is eval related for RAG and memory, which is kind of the last several weeks that we've been working on, is like RAG and memory type of stuff. And then there's other eval methods. And I think in my head, I often clump like monitoring, like evaluating stuff in production into there. So we could actually do several of those. It's been kind of fun this month. We've done several things in the memory area. So we kind of had a theme going, which is the first time we've had that. And I don't know if people like that, or you want to stick back to like kind of whiplashing different topics every week, which is also fun. I think either way is kind of fun for me. I don't know how other people feel about it. Like, did you like kind of having, if you've come to multiple ones, did you kind of like having a theme for the last few weeks? Or do you want to go back to the whiplash and different LM, or not LM specific topics, ML topics? And just want to leave a minute for when anyone else on stream to chime in too. And then also I'll keep an eye on the chat, and then we'll get going into the topic, because it looks like a lot of people are here now.
The themes have been nice. I've enjoyed them. Allows you to kind of build off of projects and
compare, which is kind of cool. Like going from just vector store and then going into into graphs and then to LM Wiki, and they all really did build upon each other, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I think one thing I would like to say here, I did like progressively actually working, but I actually joined this or followed this is like after some time, but it feels to me like if I had not done earlier concept, then it kind of hard to actually follow along. So I think if we can solve that in some way, like so that if people are joining actually and they can have like very short intro, like what we have done, and if something like that, and they can catch up quickly, I think that would also be a good addition actually if you're going down that route.
And do you think the theme kind of helped with that, because it was like you could go look at the last couple or something like that?
Yeah, it did help actually. I think progressively learning actually it was pretty useful, because I think we started with graph, then we graph rag, and then we saw LLM wiki. And when I was going through Cognee, I could see that actually it is whatever I had done, concepts and things I had learned in LLM wiki. There are many things which are common here, and to see open source library doing that, it was actually a good thing. Good thing.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, really good feedback. Yeah, and it kind of happened not even on purpose this month, like until like it was like we had a couple, and then I was like, okay, let me like try that out. So cool. I like the idea. If people are cool with that too, again in the chat, let us know if you like the idea of a theme. Like, it's not going to be super stringent, but maybe it's kind of every month we have like a loose-ish type of theme maybe. And so again, if something really cool pops up in the news and the other events aren't booked, we can, book an event on it. But for June, maybe the theme, since we already have one on evals, is going to be like evaluation and monitoring. So if people have tools or specific things they want to pick for that, let me know in the chat or in the Slack channel later. And someone asked, what channel in Slack do we use for the series? There's one called ML and AI right now, is kind of where the thread for these discussions are. And someone also asked in the chat, can we have some sessions on post-training and fine-tuning techniques like RL concepts, PPO, DPO, and fine-tuning. I think, sorry, it's cut off in my view here, but what is it? Supervised fine-tuning for specific tasks and specializations. Yeah, we could do a series on that. I think that's come up several times too, where we do, we could do like LoRa and fine tuning and GRPO. I think like that would be kind of cool. And then reinforcement learning in simulation environments outside of LMs has also come up quite a bit. So we'll add those to the list. But cool, thank you for the feedback. All right, so the topic this week is Cognee. Again, you can find also all the previous topics and current topics, upcoming ones, are all in this GitHub repo. So if you want to scroll back, you can actually go find the code for all of these, including if you do happen to want to watch or listen to the previous discussions, you can do that here. And again, this is a weekly series or almost weekly series that's kind of a pretty casual event, mostly discussion, and then kind of actually looking at like the tool that we're using. And then the if you have time or you happen to have like built a demo this week, you can also show that demo here. And I'm trying to build a demo every time and kind of show that off here. So this week is Cognee. And actually, let me just make sure that my model is going to be live before I show the demo. Don't worry, we'll come back to this, but I might have to spin up my model, which can take a few minutes. I'm using a local model. All right, so Cognee, I think I already shared these links in the chat. This is their open source, and then you can take a look at their actual site. And again, this actually built upon, if you were here in the previous discussions, builds upon a lot of the topics that we had already kind of discussed. But it's okay if you weren't here for that. Hopefully it'll still make sense for you. This is a open source tool that they say the brain behind your agents. But Cognee gives you your agents or your chat or whatever, however you're using this, improved memory of your data, decisions, and workflows, so they can recall, connect, and act with context. And this, let's see, do they have a graphic here for it? Well, I'll bring up their overview page, I think, too. But also, if you want to just actually get started very quickly, like in a Google Colab, they have a really good one. Cognee. I did call it Cognee before, but it's Cognee. But someone put that in there, and maybe I did I say that again? I was thinking of like there's a library like Bento and stuff for some reason, and Cognee came up. So if I did say, oh no, someone said okay, yeah, they also called it the wrong thing. I don't know. I did that before too, so don't feel bad. There's a collab that I linked in there as well that you can actually like just run even during the stream if you want to, which we can go look at their code. But a quick overview of kind of their API and how it works. So again, it's an open source platform, transforms your raw data into intelligent searchable memory. So it combines vector store and graph databases, again, all the stuff we've done this month, and extracts things like ontology, like subjects or specific items and stuff. And then you can save those in a relational store. And we can look at what that looks like. Just to give you a preview, you're going to get all of your data. They have this cool chart graph making thing. So I think we've all really loved seeing the graphs in like the previous things with Neo4j that we did, and also some of the LM wiki stuff inside Obsidian was really cool to see. So we'll see this in action. And I have a little chatbot demo that brings in this data. And then every time you talk to it, it can actually save that data in. And you can see, like when you ask a question later, it'll come up like this dot and see what it went to in the graph to help answer that question, which is really cool. So it kind of helps to see a visual, I think, of like, in this case, I gave it 3 resources. These are just like 3 Wikipedia pages. It extracted all these different topics out of it. Like what is DBpedia? I don't know what that is. I assume it's some sort of database thing for graphs because it's connected to this. Let me scroll up. Connected to this document, which is like what is a knowledge graph representation. So we can see these 3 dots are all 3 different Wikipedia articles I gave it, and then extract out these entities, describes like what an embedding is, and then you can see embedding relates to all these other things, like it's actually a concept, and it relates to retrieval augmented generation. And then so when you ask a question to this, it can read in the concepts in here. Like again, we'll see it in action, but imagine another green dot comes in, you're asking about RAG, it'll look at RAG and all these other related stuff and bring that context in, which is cool. And they make it really easy. So within Cognee, it has a really simple to use API. Again, you can go look at the code. I shared the link and we'll see this in action. But basically they have I think it was like 4 main things, which is like basically saving the data and then like recalling that data. So they actually call it something specific in here. It's remember. So I think you just call like .remember and you pass in like that text, and then it'll automatically, if you have like an ingest layer with a model, automatically extract those entities out that we just saw. And you can adjust how it extracts those things, and you can give it your own data and kind of ways that you want it to save the data. So I didn't really massage that piece of it for my kind of quick demo, where if you're doing this in production, you can really tweak how it thinks about things and saves that data. And they have recall, so it queries that stored memory, kind of like we saw. There's improve, where you can enrich existing memory and optionally bridge session memory into the permanent graph. So if you're doing a session with an agent or in a chat and you want to keep improving something over time, you can call improve, which I don't think I actually did this correctly. Maybe I did, because it does go into the graph. But you can save this into the graph, and then I did do it during the temporary session, but it doesn't save it. That's how I did it. But you can save this and then improve that memory over time. And then you have a forget, so it's going to drop that memory on the item or that whatever scope you pass it. So these are kind of the main parts that you do there. And if you go look at their Colab, what do they call? See, it's not that much code here. So you pass in just some text here. Again, you can go run this. It'll extract out entities. Then you're going to call this visualize one. Oh yeah, here you're going to call improve. And then you're going to start building out that graph. So pretty cool. And I'm actually interested in using something maybe like this, because I wanted to do maybe an LLM wiki for some projects I'm working on, but now I'm also thinking about using Cognee instead for that. So we're going to see how that works out. They also have, I haven't tried this yet, but if you go to their GitHub, they also talk about a Claude Code plugin. So if you want to improve memory across like your Claude Code sessions, I haven't set this up, but I imagine you can just run this locally. Yeah, it looks like you can run it like a local host. So if you want to improve your Claude Code over time and build essentially kind of a memory layer across all your different sessions and entities, then it looks like you can use this Claude Code plugin, which also sounds cool, and I might go check that out as well. Yeah, and if there's no other immediate questions or comments, I'll go ahead and just show kind of my quick demo. If the model's spun up, I think it is. And again, the code for this is in the link here. This has code and previous code, and then here's the specific section. So I built in Flyte a workflow that does the data ingestion. So I have 3 resources I just gave it. If I was doing this in production, I would probably do this in like parallel if I could, with maybe if I wasn't just running a single local model at a time, if I was doing API calls. If someone asked what model I'm using, I'm currently using the Gemma for 26 billion, 4 billion active model for this. And then, so you can actually see the first Wikipedia article get ingested. This is the retrieval augmented generation RAG article. And you can see that these are by default the entities that it extracts out. So that's like embeddings, what is RAG, prompt stuffing, large language models. And it uses Gemma 4, in my case right here, to actually extract out these 2. So it basically, they have something called, I think it's like .cognify. You pass in that data, and whatever model you have set up, it'll use their kind of prompts to extract out this knowledge graph. But again, you can use different models for it, and I think you can adjust that prompt a lot. But you can see this is all the stuff that got from that one article. And then our second article comes in and it tacks on to the first one. So you can see our knowledge graph is building out. So you could also imagine this happening in like a live real-time environment with agents running or with chats running. As it gets new knowledge, it can just kind of build this out every time something happens. When we do our third one, you can see now our knowledge graph is here. And then I just have this pass out to an application also hosted in Flyte. So Flyte's an open source that I work on at our company. So if you actually do want to run any of this, it's all open source. It's a AI orchestration platform to manage like your compute scaling and versioning. So every time you run something, it all gets versioned. So you go back and like see, specifically what happened, what hyperparameters you had, or what your agent was doing. So actually, John was just talking about observability for agents at the beginning. So that's like one use case for this too. But then I also have these apps deployed here. So I can go to the app tab. This is just a Gradio app. And then this is my model that's also deployed. It'll spin down after like 30 minutes of me not using it. If I go to this RAG memory one, you can see I actually go in, I can render my graph here. So, oops, I might actually have one of my previous questions in here. I thought it would not, it will tear down, I guess, when the app spins down. So you can see there's a question in here. If I go back to the question piece, let's ask it, what is RAG? And then it's going to pull in this knowledge graph. And if I re-render this, once the question's asked, it'll show up in here. So this is one that I had just asked, which was the what is RAG? And you can see that the question came in, and these are the nodes that it went to look at based on kind of like proximity to it and knowing how to traverse this graph. So what is RAG? And then you can see it looks at large language model, hallucination. It looks at retrieval augmented generation, and then it pulls in that knowledge to give us, hopefully, a good answer. Gemma is still answering. Does a lot of thinking by default. I should turn the, you could use, turn off the thinking if you want a quicker answer. But it's going to bring in that data we can look at here in a second. Once it finishes answering, that's going to bring this in. And I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in. It says, what is RAG? And then context says, I have memory entry about RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And then it brings in that memory. And then it thinks about how to formulate the response. And then it sends out that response here. So super easy to use, just like you saw in that collab. Or if you go look at the collab, there's the part where you just do the remember, recall, and then include if you want to over time.
Which database were you using? Was it based on the recommendation in Cognee?
Oh yeah, I actually had to switch it out to blinking on the name. It was one I hadn't used before. Claude helped me figure one out for a just a memory thing in my app. I'll find it real quick though.
Gotcha.
Were you having issues with the database piece?
I kind of followed a similar pattern. I put mine in Supabase, so it was hosted, and then mine wasn't near as responsive as yours. So, and then, yeah.
And somebody asked, did you get into how Cognee is storing, improving, retrieving their memories behind the scenes? Not too much. Someone asked this question. Only a little bit. Like I was looking at the concepts of it, and like John was asking about the database. They have a couple things, like they do graphs and vectors by default, and then there's like a database that you can use for that. They have a couple of recommendations. So they have like a default one. You can overwrite that default one. I can actually bring up my code probably here in a second and take a look at it. But I didn't dive super deep for getting the demo working this week. But it would be something I would dive deeper into if I need to do this for production, and obviously figure out like how this is stored more deeply. I mean, I know where it's stored. In my case, I have it stored in a local or a local temporary database within this Flyte app. So for me, actually, too, like over time, I would want to save this. I actually made a save to Hugging Face button. I don't think I have my token in here, so it's going to fail. But because it's a temporary store, if I let this app spin down, then I need to get it again. And so I would pull it from like Hugging Face dataset is how I had it set up for me to do this. And then when I initialize this app, the seed of the data comes from this memory pipeline that I ran where I did that ingestion. And then this is the seed of the data for the chat. But you can see that over time, as I ask it stuff, if I want to keep saving like my improved memory or my, like seeing what the questions were, and if it gets new entries, like you can also have it save new ontology things and improve over time. then I would need to save this data out somewhere. And so it could be saved in like a local thing or an S3 bucket, or to like Hugging Face data sets is how I had it set up. Did anyone else have a demo they want to show?
So for me, I think I don't have like very large demo. Actually, I was just like curious how Cognee is helping, and I was just like, I made some small database, and I can share actually, and just want to compare actually like how how the answers that I'm getting from a normal RAG and how the answers that I'm getting from Cognee.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. That sounds great to see. Yeah, and if anyone wants to like build demos or something and show them off here, they don't have to be fully polished things or anything like that. Really, the expectation is like, I think if people spend like an hour learning and like hacking on the topic, that's awesome. And so it doesn't have to be some really cool thing.
Yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so I think basically I will just explain like what data. I use Claude for this, and I literally had like an hour or two spent on this to understand. So basically, the data is like it introduces a company known as Nexus, and then it builds the relation actually as it goes on. So for example, here's a Nexus, a technology firm that is located in Seattle, blah, blah, blah. And later it actually introduces something known as like they use DuckDB for their service. And it later introduced some paragraph like, okay, according to new regulations, anyone who uses DuckDB, they need to implement some trail. And if they don't do it, then they have like their company's certificate is kind of revoked. Now with normal RAG, when actually I try to make all the chunks and everything and ask this question, like, okay, answer the question like, why might Nexus lose its operational compliance certificate? So the story is like Nexus uses DuckDB, and for DuckDB we have new regulations, and it asks question, okay, can you tell me like how it's gonna lose the certificate if they don't do something? So this is what actually what normal RAG answer. So if first I also print out like what context that we are sending to Olama, and finally it actually said like, okay, so you can see that it get the first line, and then it also actually get the context related to DuckDB, where it mentions DuckDB. But when I'm trying to get an answer, it just actually spits out this information that required data permanence to the immutable because company is certificate, but there's no mention of DuckDB or like why. But if the same thing I actually do with Cognee, so here you can see that they give a different answer, and they have the same actually, but they do mention about like it's a strict append only audit trial for because they use a DuckDB based engine. So with the graph, I can see that they're able to actually link the compliance to DuckDB, and then to also what trail what features they have to implement. So yeah, I think that was like a very like good to see like they're able to connect the different entities and able to give a more contextual answer. And other thing I was also trying to go through the graph that they have generated, and while I was going through it, I was just seeing like how it is related to the LLM wiki. So I could see that when I was designing LLM wiki, they were trying to get what is entity, what is concept, what is, and in entity also what is entity type. And I do see a lot of features the same. For example, you can see that they are able to like, they are actually trying to find entity and also what is the entity type. So the entity type is location. And similarly for here also for DuckDB, they were able to find that, okay, DuckDB is an entity, but also what is the entity type. And yeah, I think I also did something similar where when actually you're doing entity page, then it also gets, okay, what should be its entity type. And so many similar things there. For my application, I was thinking, I'm not sure whether you can also comment. I was thinking in terms of giving it a Git repo and get through all the codes. And I wanted to see if Cognee can answer, like if I change this part of code, if I want to improve this, or what else changes I need to do in other parts of code, because that's what I feel like the connections from different modules and will come. So I will be actually working. That's an interesting that I want to work on and use Cognee there. I think that's all actually. That's a small thing.
Awesome. No, super cool. I love seeing the comparison piece too, which is something I did not do. So I think it's awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. I don't know if anyone, this is a really easy to use tool too. Like, again, if you look at the collab, someone posted an error. I think, is that from running the collab, which I don't maintain or anything. I'm not actually associated with Cognee. I did run the collab before, and I forget, I might have gotten an error somewhere. And if you go to the next part and run it, I think it might be fine. I don't remember.
Could you see, like, if we are, because I think I remember actually getting some timeout error, but it was related to because I did not give the OpenAPI key, and it was trying to internally chunk, and it was trying to use LLM. And so if you have given the OpenAPI key, you can check, or yeah, I think that can be one of the timeouts.
Might be. Yeah. Good. Oh, yeah. If I don't know if you just ran it all, or did you actually replace this top part with your API key? Because if you did not do this and you just run the code cells, you're definitely going to run into an error. I don't know if you did replace this, then it's something else. But you do have to provide an API key here for it to work. So it extracts the entities like we've been seeing with the LM. And to answer the question, I looked back in my code, and the thing I was thinking about that I swapped out was, I think there was an older version of a graph database that Cognee used called Kuzu or something. I never used it, and I ended up swapping out that with another graph database called Ladybug, which I had never used before either. And then I just store the storage. Then it's just in like a SQLite type of thing. For anyone who was asking. And someone says, it says LM key. How does it know to work with which one?
I think by default, they go to OpenAPI, because I do see that various documentation they were using OpenAI.
Right. And often with, I don't know if they have another library actually, like Lite LM or something in here. Like there's libraries that make it easy to swap. Also, most of them have just the OpenAI API standard or whatever, even if you have a different key in there. So it's probably the same one. But there's this expandable code section above that's actually the setup part. So I guess I think you have to run this code as well, because it actually does the setup. So potentially this is another thing. If you didn't run this code cell before running the other stuff, you might need to, but we can look at what they install real quick. So yeah, I think they probably just use the OpenAI like standard way of calling it behind the scenes, probably in their actual library is probably how it does it. Or they have something that looks at different LMs, but you can swap out different ones. So like in my example, I provide it, and there's like a little setup file, and I pass it in a model. So it's like a custom LM, and I give it my Gemma 4 endpoint. So I haven't looked at their like library code. I assume they have either just a standard that can use any LM endpoint in calling it in a specific format, or they have some tool that does routing behind the scenes. Go to their site. Someone asked, hi guys, just curious. So this Cognee is like ChromaDB architecture under the hood. I think under the hood, they use a couple things. So like I haven't had time to dive into their actual like library code and dissect it, but we can maybe see what we can bring up in their documentation.
Yeah, I think basically it's Cognee inside it use VectorDB plus some GraphDB. So in my normal implementation, I use ChromaDB for storing the embeddings. So I think they may be using some vector store plus Kuzu, as you said, like for the graph store actually. So I think it's not just ChromoDB, it's ChromoDB, a vector store like ChromoDB plus some graph store actually.
Yeah, they do. They talk about in their architecture, they use 3 complementary storage systems, each playing a different role. Relational store. So this tracks the documents, chunks, and provenance. This is where, like I was saying in mine, I think this is just like a SQLite database by default. So this stores just like relational database, basically tracks all the stuff coming in. And then there's a vector store. I don't know what they use under the hood. It sounds like if you looked, it might have been Chroma. I wouldn't be surprised because that's often used in a lot of places. It's super lightweight, can run locally very good. This holds the embedding for the semantic similarity. And then you have the graph store, which again, I think by default was the Kusa or Ladybug. This captures the entities and relationships and builds that kind of graph that we were seeing. And somebody said ChromaDB is VectorDB. It is one. I'm not sure if you're also saying that it is their VectorDB. I did not take a look and see.
I think I just researched a bit, and it seems they used LanceDB for vector embeddings. I just put a link into the. I think I'm not able to put, but if you search LanceDB Cognee, the first result comes.
Oh, I see it in the private chat. Is this?
Oh, right. Let me put in the private chat.
And grab that, and I'll post it in the full chat.
It would be a good read, actually. We can see that.
I'll bring it up here too. Oh yeah, they have a case study, Cognee case study. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, this actually does seem like a good read. Looks like it about building the relationships with the vector graph or with the vectors. Cool. Yeah, this looks like a great additional read to it. Somebody asked, what are some of the other use cases where we would use this for? I mean, I think anything you want a memory layer. I mean, like agents is obviously a big one they're marketing towards. It could be chat. It could be anything you're doing. Like I've been working a lot with obviously like Cloud Code or other elements to do tasks. And I've been thinking about how to add a better memory layer, so that when I stop doing something, I come back and it kind of has knowledge between all my sessions. Like if I'm doing stuff for building certain projects here and then a different kind of project here, but I want it to cross-reference everything. Like if I'm building a lot of stuff in Flyte, but it's kind of fragmented across different things, I want all those concepts to like be able to come in because I know I'm repeating like stuff that I'm doing across different sessions. And so I think having like, you can do that as skills. You can, there's obviously different ways of implementing it. But I think having some sort of memory layer to like automatically pull out those entities would be pretty useful. And originally I was going to look at maybe LM-Wiki to do that, which gives you the memory layer kind of, but also then a nice human readable thing. So also could be interesting for, I don't know, like studying or something like that would be interesting. For the Cognee layer, it would be more like a study chatbot is how I'm thinking of it, where the wiki one could be a chatbot plus the readable wiki, which is nice. I don't think with Cognee you get that kind of readability piece by default with it.
I think having that in, the situation you're describing, having all that information in a database would be nice versus on disk in a file, right?
Yep. Yeah, with the LM-Wiki, I think there's a scaling issue probably there later.
Yeah.
What I imagine, because everything's like a markdown file, right? And so this actually has like a relational database handling things and a vector store and a graph store. So I think over time, I haven't stress tested it, but I think we were talking about this last time too, talking about like a part of these LM-Wiki. I don't know where the drop-off point is, where that becomes like too much context to always be reading in and traversing in markdown files versus having something like a vector store. In theory, it can be way quicker to bring in that knowledge. A vector store and then a graph store can be way quicker probably to bring in that knowledge, like instead of traversing everything. So the different trade-offs, I think, for it. So use case wise, I mean, wherever you need a memory layer and you think having not just a like vector rag would be good, but also a graph, and this automatically kind of extracts entities for you versus you doing like chunking, like tuning chunking and stuff like this. This kind of handles that piece for you, I think is the idea. And you can adjust how it gets handled, but you're not like coming up with the way to chunk and extract things. The LLM that you give it does that with its API.
I have a question actually. Do you just like wonder, because we do see a good actually improvement in terms of response when you use graphs along with the vector embeddings. What do you think, like the Anthropic agents or cloud agents or OpenAI, are they actually doing it in the backend, or do you think that the data set is so big actually that the graph may not actually make sense? It may become too big actually to search. Just like curious actually, why are they not doing it actually?
Yeah, I don't know, obviously. And do you mean like on your data or like behind the scenes, like on their side?
I think I would say behind the scenes, because I think if I have my own data, then the graph may be small, so it may be useful. Right. But I would like to see, like, if on a very like behind the scenes, on a very large, a large amount of information, does it actually help?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has a an answer to that too, or just a thought on it, because like I don't know. It seems like you're saying, it seems like a good idea in theory, but yeah, if you're doing like such a vast thing, I'm not sure. But I guess also maybe it's fine if you're, I mean, if you're doing like how Cognee does it, like where you do, or like a graph rag where you combine a vector store and then you have a graph from there. So it's not like traversing, like if you just say, here's like the vector piece and then go look at the top 3 graph nodes or something like that, then I guess that might not add like an insane amount of overhead on there. Potentially, but then you're losing off on like a lot of traversing too. So I guess it has to be like a balance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look at the Claude code leak from a while ago and see what was in there, because I never did like a personal deep dive on that. I don't know if anyone else did. Like, do they have a memory layer like on the server side of like how they handled that type of stuff? Or that might not be in the Claude code part, because again, if it's behind the scenes, maybe it's not in the Claude code leak. And yeah, Andrew Lewis just confirmed the stuff we had said too. So SQLite is a relational database for Cognee, and LanceDB is the vector database, and then Kuzu is the default graph database. But you can swap these out, by the way, too. So you can do a whole config piece, kind of like I did with the LM for different stores if you want. Somebody said the Microsoft advocates told them several times that graphs were so far too expensive to keep up to date at scale for all users. For this reason, they use agentic hybrid rag. It is the agentic hybrid rag. Do you mean hybrid rag as in using graphs and vector stores, or no graphs at all in there? And someone said the relational and vector database could be Postgres. Yes, I think you could combine. I think most relational databases now, like Postgres, and I think even SQLite, I could be wrong, have plugins to make them also a vector database. So you could swap this out. Again, if you're doing this production, you want to think about how to store the data, you could do this all probably in one database, at least the vector and relational side. I'm not as sure on the graph side.
Yeah, I used Postgres for the vector project. It's just a simple setting on the DB.
You just say like PG vector or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Pretty tough.
And someone said they wonder how they can add some kind of metadata filtering to Cognee, as we may need to save some metadata summary for the kind of queries we would want to do later on that data. Do you mean like there's probably different ways to filter. One, I mean, depending on what you're trying to filter on the metadata, if you have an idea of what that metadata is, you could probably just bring that in to the query, or have in the prompt for extracting like the entities. You could say like that gets passed through, and then you always have that save it, and it could probably, I guess I need to know like what you're trying to save, but you could probably save that in another kind of section as a different concept, if that's how you're thinking about doing it. And I think as an answer to the graph piece, they're saying, or for the graph rag from Microsoft, they're saying vector plus keyword plus agentic query processing plus complexer re-ranking, but only for Azure AI search. Makes sense. So they're not using graphs in production. I mean, I see mixed things all the time. Like you see all the stuff from Neo4j and all these other interesting graph projects come out. So I think at scale, though, like you're saying, it still might be a real problem. Like if you're building a tool that scales out to like millions of concepts or something like that, this might be really hard to do. But I mean, it's hard to know sometimes what's fully out in production if you're not working in that specific space. It's like I see a lot of stuff from Neo4j and some other companies, but again, they're graph database companies. But it seems like they have like, actual use cases and stuff around it. It's not like, obviously they've been around for a long time, and I don't think they're making up their use cases when they say, whatever person's using them. But I think if you're building like a general Azure AI product or something like that, that's going to go to everybody using it, then maybe it doesn't scale well. But if you're working in like a lab and you want graphs for relationships between different things in your like biology project or something that you're building, that's probably very different. And I'd imagine that can bring in really useful knowledge for you. So I think it probably, like most ML things, the answer is probably it depends. Someone said they mean and their question about metadata: does Cognee provide adding metadata to data like Qdrant database does? And Qdrant's another vector store. They also, Qdrant has a really good free plan, or at least they used to. Haven't looked super recently. So if you're looking for a hosted vector store, they're a really cool one to kind of get started with too. I'm not sure if Cognee has a built-in thing for it. I didn't see one when I was reading the docs, but I might have missed it. We can look real quick and see. And they have, like I mentioned, you can kind of manage how it brings in different data. They have knowledge grounding too, so it can connect it to your data. It can use that, I think, for figuring out like the entities to extract. We can see, actually, let's see metadata. Metadata, data item, metadata and labels. So there might be something here. So this might be exactly what you're looking for. I'll share the link in the chat here. I got metadata preservation, so keeps file system, metadata like name extension, MIME type, file size, and content hash. Not sure if that's exactly what you're looking for, but it might be built in. Any other thoughts or comments on Cognee? It seems I liked how easy it was to get started. I think I have more poking around before I would actually start using it somewhere. Like with most of these demos, I'd like to get more time, but ends up being like a couple hours or something like that playing around with it, which is really cool because then I feel like it's kind of gotten me over the hump of getting started with it as well, and I can like bring it into projects now. But I'm not like the most versed person in it.
Yeah, I think I would really have to recommend it's really super easy to use, actually, to integrate into your platform. Yeah, I would really like up on that, +1 on that.
Yeah, really cool. So like you were saying, you can go through the Colab and if you set up the key, run it and get the graph visual really quickly. Sorry, John, were you going to say something?
I was going to say I'm feeling bad now. I couldn't get mine. So my database is fine. It's my web app that's the problem. I put in a chat prompt and it's still giving me the default. I can't find any information on this, you know. So there's something. Yeah.
Like it's not pulling in the context.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe I'll redo it and I'll use that. What was that? LanceDB? Is that what it was?
LanceDB is the one I think is used by default. There is one that I had switched out to Ladybug if you want to, but you can point Claude to my pushed version too if you want.
Yeah, that's true. You plagiarize.
This isn't graded, so it's fine. Plagiarism's encouraged.
I'll change my colors to red or something like that, right? It's mine. It's all mine. I did it myself.
Yeah. If you guys have time, actually, I think I can show you something cool. That's very off topic, actually. So yesterday, actually, I think I was attending one talk and they showed me something. So are you guys aware of like ChatJimmy by any chance?
What was it?
ChatJimmy. Are you guys aware of that?
I don't think so.
So I will show you something. So
is it stream appropriate?
Yeah, it is. It is actually. It's actually. Yeah. So it's
get Union AI in trouble.
So if I ask something like, let me ask some, what is RAG and Cognee? And I'll see. So do you see the way so fast it actually gives the response? So whenever I actually use ChatGPT or it actually starts with one word and then actually it builds on the one. But if you use this and the amount of like time it gives, it's like very flash. If I ask something, okay, what is what do you think about graph stores, graph rag? So they are like giving very fast. So the response here, I think what's happening here is like there is the company in Canada, and they made they made basically model on silicon. So it is the hardware that it is running on. It's very much like optimized to run Llama, one of the Llama models, and that hardware just runs actually Llama models, but it does at a very super fast speed. So if we like use ChatGPT and they run on GPUs and everything, and they have like general purpose. I mean, the GPU stands for general purpose application, but this hardware that ChatJimmy is running on, it's like that is optimized to run Llama models on that chip itself. So it's more like the hardware is so actually optimized to run, and it gives lightning fast response.
Is it really streaming in? Because if so, that's wild.
Sorry, I didn't understand. What do you mean, like
streaming? Oh, like it's streaming the answer like real time, like.
Yeah, I think you can give it a try.
Yeah.
It's.
Is it really generating like in 0.041 seconds? Interesting. I have to look it up. RAG is.
Well, I'm sure Claude would be that fast if they didn't have millions of users. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it may not be because I think whatever I have used, actually they like start generating as like you'd start like one line and then it continues a bit on, but this one like instant response. It was so good.
How is ChatJimmy so fast? Type that in.
Yeah.
People in the chat don't believe it. I don't know if I do either. I'm gonna have to look it up. But I mean, if it is, that's crazy.
Do look it up. Actually, it is really blowing. It's basically a model on silicon. Actually, that they're like each hardware is for. It's definitely not marketing.
You saw it at like a talk.
Yeah, a talk actually. I think there was a person actually. He he's actually making KV cache for the Valky, which is kind of, you can say, like a replacement for Redis. And he was actually explaining that how hardware is actually going towards doing inference and decoding, and how some of the hardwares are actually just for decoding, some of the hardware just for inference, and so many work is being done in hardware side, actually making it more faster.
I think it needs some improvement for reasoning too.
It does use like local models. So one of the disadvantages, like it can't use any model, just like optimized for one model. So they just wanted to like see how fast can we go actually. But it was really good actually.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. I hadn't seen anything about it. That's crazy time that they're showing there. It is good marketing. Cool. We'll have to check it out. So as we're near the time, I always want to bring up again for people in the chat, what tools or topics should we look at next? I think we already talked about maybe doing more ML monitoring and evals in June, and kind of a lot of people seem to like the loose theme approach. So we'll maybe do that for June, have a couple in like the ML monitoring space. Again, I'm not going to hold ourselves super hard to it. So if something cool comes up, you can slot it in. But I do kind of like the idea of a little bit of a theme to build on too. And people talked about post-training. So maybe we'll do post-training in July or something like that. And we can do like GRPO, if there's any other latest like RL post-training methods. And then also we could do fine-tuning. So you could do like fine-tuning with like LoRa and QLoRa. I even did a workshop on that earlier this week. But it's pretty cool to fine-tune a super tiny model and then see it actually doing pretty good at some task that you gave it enough data to learn from. And then something I want to do, and some other people who have been on the streams before too, was a little bit different outside of the agents and LLMs, but reinforcement learning for like physical AI. So I've been dabbling quite a bit more with some like robotic simulation. And I think that might be, it's different than this stuff, but it might pull in different people. But I'm definitely interested in it, and I know some other people from previous streams were too. So that's another kind of area where we could do a little bit of a theme around probably. So if anyone has any other ideas, let us know. And then also, I'll say again too, you can join the Slack channel and let us know ideas there too.
Thank you. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you for coming as always.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other? Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming back and demoing as well. Really, really cool. I like the comparison a lot too. I feel like that added a lot.
Okay. Thanks, Aish. Bye.
Thank you. I'll stick around for another couple minutes, but if there's no other questions or thoughts on anything, I'll probably end the stream. Again, let me know topics or think about topics, that areas that you're interested in. There's an infinite number of stuff coming out, so I feel like there's no shortage of stuff. But it's just picking which ones we want to do next, I think. So some other tools like in the eval space too, like Arise is really popular. That might be a really cool one to do. Fiddler came up, and Brain Trust and Langsmith in the ads, all other competitors. So Arise is a cool one. They have an open source as well called Phoenix, which is cool for monitoring agents. They have a link to their open source. Oh yeah, Phoenix OSS. So this could be a cool one. People are saying thank you and saying the series is great. Awesome. Thank you for coming and talking in the chat. It makes it way more fun for me and everyone else up here. So it's always really cool having people participating, asking questions. Ooh, someone said DSPy. That's a good one. I know that's on the list too, so maybe we'll move it up. DSPy. Related to DSPy too is another one I want to do called BAML. Not Bank of America. BAML by Boundary ML. I think they kind of overlap with some of the DSPy capabilities. Actually, both of these would be cool. Maybe, and again, maybe that kind of goes into a little bit of a theme of building agents in a little bit of a different way. It's like BAML is actually like a programming language that gives you a lot of control of like input output between your LMs. So this would be cool, and DSPy would also be cool to take a look at. But yeah, so BAML by Vibeoff. So you know the BAML people too? I actually run into Vibeoff all the time because I think technically live in the same neighborhood maybe, then also just downtown and stuff like that. I see them, and then I go to their meetups and stuff. So I'm actually thinking about doing a hackathon in Seattle around probably late July, probably around agents, and I want to see. I haven't asked them yet, but I'm going to see if they want to kind of co-host with me, because I think they're doing some really cool stuff in the area. And we have customers that use like Union and Flyte with BAML already, so I know it's a good pairing. I just haven't like made a whole example yet together. Oh yeah, they said they joined the AI That Works, which is their Tuesday stream. I've gone to that a couple times too. But yeah, really cool team, really cool people there. So would love to do something with them. And maybe they'll just start with the Build and Learn series. All right, I'll do one more just shout out for the Slack. If you want to join in, you don't have to, but you can say hello in there, talk through the week with other people. There's an introductions channel. I think it's really fun when people do an intro and kind of say what they're working on and why they're interested in kind of the ML field, LMs, whatever it is that you're working on. It's really cool. And then there's the ML and AI channel, and that's where I post the thread for every week. So if you do want to share your projects or just ask questions about the topics coming up, that's a good place to do it. And then just one final reminder, we are not meeting next Friday, so I have to go. I don't have to go. I'm going to a friend's wedding that day, so I'm not doing the stream. And we'll resume it on June 5th. And then I think there's another holiday in June, and then early July. I think the Friday overlaps with July 4th. So there might be a couple later in June, July that, again, we'll just miss a Friday if it's like actually on a holiday or anything like that. But this happens most Fridays. It's been a really fun series for me to help host too, because it's somewhat of a casual environment. I'm not doing like a workshop where it has to run for everybody. It's about picking usually like a specific tool on a topic, spending a little bit of time on it, and then talking about it, really. And if you have a cool demo to show, that's awesome. But if anyone wants to build a demo and like hack on that thing during the week, you should do so. And then if you want to present it, you can join the stream. And again, it doesn't have to be a super well polished demo or anything like that. It can be something you played around with and you thought was really cool on that topic or tool. So encourage people to do it. I know not everyone has time, but if you do it sometimes, you don't have to do it every single week. If the topic's interesting to you, I think it's really cool. And you can also just share it in the Slack channel. And if you don't have time to present it or anything like that, it can also bring up your demo, hopefully, too. Someone mentioned comfy UI could be a good topic as well. Yeah, actually, I remember looking at that quite some time ago. I think it's evolved a lot. And actually, one of the series I was thinking about would be generative media. And so I know a lot of people use comfy UI to build out their workflows for building, generating images and videos, I believe, is when I see it come up the most. I don't know what the other, if people use it for agents at all. Again, I haven't kept up to date with all of its capabilities. But that actually might work really good for that. So if we do a series, like I would actually love to do something that, again, talking about building on each other. Like we could start with diffusion models, creating an image, and then there's several different open source video generation models that I think would be cool. So it's like you start with generating an image, and then we go and generate a video. There's also some really good open source generative models for voice and for music. And so I think that would be like a really cool month's topic almost, would be like going through all these things. And then in the last demo, it'd be cool, like if they build on each other, to have like a whole generated video with, like a music score and voiceover or something like that. I think would be really cool. Like my idea is almost doing that and maybe redoing that, not as a build and learn series here, but like I would love to do that every quarter or something and see what the latest like state of the art models are in that stack, and maybe test it by generating like a TV type of commercial thing or something. I think that would be really cool. So that's been on my mind too. Oh, I should actually do that, I think, sooner than later. But probably not June. Maybe they'll be like July or August. But yeah, the themes are cool. I like it. So thank you for the feedback on that too. If you have any other feedback on how to manage kind of the themes and tools, let me know. But with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream. Got to finish up some other work today before the long weekend. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Really, really fun. Hopefully I'll see you all not next week, but the week after. And then also just in the Slack channel and other places that we can stay connected. So have a good weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you later.